Hi guys, Piotr here, the Light Finance Global YouTube channel. How are you doing today? It's time for the update when it comes to the indices. Well, very interesting week behind us and very interesting week ahead of us. So it's good to know how the market may eventually perform. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. Hi guys, so welcome to the channel. Sell in May and go away. That's what we are going to discuss when it comes to the indices today. Let's start with S&P 500. That's the weekly chart. Let's briefly discuss the higher time frame and then go a little bit lower to the daily chart. Let's have a look what we have from the bulls and bears perspective. So there you go. After the strong move to the downside, after such a strong move to the downside with the new low in place, we are still holding above 200 daily moving average, and we are trying to consolidate lately. And well, from the bears perspective, let's start the bears. It could be just the bear flag before we are going to continue lower. Now, when it comes to the S&P, the important thing we were discussing quite a few times, it was this latest weakness over here. And as you can see, we briefly been there some time ago, or almost been there some times ago. So let's place another line and let's discuss the levels when it comes to the bears. So bears, I think that the supply is based on what we've seen here, the possible swing high, right? And before we broke to the downside, how we behave at that level. So the supply when it comes to the S&P weekly chart is around 4,275, 4,280. When it comes to the possible demand based on the weekly chart, I would say something in between 3,370 and 3,225. So as of now, taking into the consideration what is going on here, I would look for the selling opportunity from the bears perspective around the top of that range. And to be honest with you, I would rather buy this zone, but still there is a possibility, right, around this level over here, that we might see some kind of the demand around 3,650, the previous bottom. So in that case, from the medium term perspective, that's what I would look for. Let's have a look what we have when it comes to the daily chart on the S&P. And there you go. I like what we see here. I like this low from here, right? I like the stop count over here, right? And I do like the price action after, all right? Boom, 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 and boom. So let's place the green line this time because we are on a daily chart over here. So from the daily chart perspective, short-term chart, right? I would look for very interesting price action. Maybe we are going to get some kind of the attempt to move higher, leaving the upper shadow, stop hunt, and then trying to go lower. How low can we go in that case? So sellers, in my opinion, based on the daily chart, 4,175, and we are trying to go lower. How low can we go? Well, in that case, I think that this weakness we've seen here, right, could be the name of the game. top been already held above 4,000. So I would say it was eaten, right? So we have to go a little bit lower. How low can we go? Well, I think 3,920, where I would look for some kind of the short covering. And if we are going to go much lower, then the levels based on 3,700 could be the next target. So trying to summarize S&P, sellers based on the daily around 4,175, based on the weekly 4,275.80, and the buyers I would say below 4,000. And well, the first level it's around 3,920. The second level is around 3,700, and then the zone based on the weekly chart. So over to the next one, we are going to discuss NASDAQ. There you go. So let's have a look what we have when it comes to the weekly chart perspective. Very interesting thing, of course. When we are looking for the similarity to S&P, it might be this kind of the bearish flag. But what you have to understand, if you are going to look closer at both charts, you are going to discover that the NASDAQ is lately much stronger than S&P. Anyway, what has happened, what we are going to focus today is this swing, double swing to the downside. And of course, as of now, we are making higher low, higher high, trying to change the things. But as long as we are, based on the weekly close, below this possible swing high or on the weekly, and then again below this latest rally to the upside, this trend, we might try to trade some kind of the, I would call it ping pong, right? So it could be some kind of the range where the sellers are in between 13,560 and 14,500. So it's a quite wide 1,000 range, but don't forget it's a weekly chart. And to the downside, we are talking about the levels close to 11,050, let's say. All right, so we have quite wide range. Why it's so important? Because if we are going to break that range, that's gonna be the key. Okay, because from here, if we are going to make the same size to the upside, meaning that we are going to make and hit stops above the latest high. To the downside, meaning that we are going to go down towards 9,000 and a little bit lower. Why it's so important? I've mentioned quite a few times. I still believe, even we see very strong NASDAQ index, that compared to the S&P, we haven't tested this latest weakness yet, and that's the level around 9,500, 9,300, and I truly believe sooner or later we are going to go there. All right, let's have a look what we have on a daily when it comes to the NASDAQ. Boom, there you go. And we were trying to build some kind of the triple bottom over here, some kind of the short covering. So what I'm going to look for from bear's perspective is this possible one-to-one formation. And as you can see, this high over here might be treated. We might try to take stops, move a little bit higher, and trying to reverse. So I would look for the selling opportunity in between these levels and this high. We are talking about the based on the weekly 13,555.60, and these highs above here, we are talking about the levels close to 13,700 with some kind of the rejection. If you are a buyer and you are trying to push the prices higher or you are trying to buy the NASDAQ and waiting for the higher levels, this one-to-one formation might be the quite good indication for the first target, right? But where would you like to approach the first, based on the daily chart, first longs? So taking into the consideration levels close to 12,900 and then trying to go higher, that might be the first trading setup, or the second one, it could be the retest of 12,000. So going here and trying to move eventually higher. If we are going to break these levels, retest of that low and maybe the level from the weekly chart below 10,000 could be the name of the game. And finally, what we are going to discuss is a DAX. We are going to check the daily chart only here, all right? So let me remove the levels related to the NASDAQ. Okay, so DAX, to be honest with you, is so close to retest and hit more stops to the upside, so trying to screw all the short sellers. But there is a one line, very important, which is being tested right here, right now. So overall, when it comes to the DAX German index, I would look for this 16,000 as a very crucial level to try to take the advantage of when it comes to the lower level. All right. What might be the target? Well, it's determined by the price action we already seen. So I would look for the levels close to 14,680, 14,700 to round the number. So in that case, that's the burst scenario. When it comes to the bulls, it's completely different story. Why it's completely different story? Well, because when we are taking into the consideration this aggressive attempt to move downside and the current price action where we are trying to hold, so the aggressive bulls are trying to buy that particular level around 15,700 and trying to double what we already seen. So if that was the aggressive move to the downside over here, right? So if we are going to try to double that one, like this, okay, we might try to target levels close to 16,700. So the very aggressive buyers are on the deep of this very tight consolidation, right? And the sellers are fighting here. If you are a conservative seller, then you may wanna see the breakdown, retest and continuation. Okay, with that being said, sell in May and go away and put the big question mark, because still bulls are trying to push the prices higher and the sellers are not so aggressive yet. Let's have a look what's going to happen, and we are going to get back into that discussion in June. Do your own research as usual. Do hundreds of examples as usual. Don't waste your heart and money. Wish you great next trading session. See you around. Take care and goodbye.